Hello. This is Irene with SaugaTalks. Hello. Thank you everyone for joining. Hi. Just to get this out of the way, follow SaugaTalks just right now. Okay. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube. We're talking to fascinating people in tech, discussing wide range of topics, all the way from AI trends to automation, to intelligent automation, to metaverse sometimes, to the latest and greatest and the brightest minds in the industry are kind enough with their time, with their contribution to our overall knowledge. All right. And I want to welcome today Anandhi Dhukaram. Anandhi, how are you?
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Irene, for the wonderful opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. And I just want to encourage everyone who is following SaugaTalks also follow Anandhi because she is a wisdom. She's a wisdom when it comes to AI practices, AI trends, AI partnerships, and everything that comes in that universe. So please follow Anandhi on LinkedIn. We're going to dive into the topic that we announced today. We're going to talk about adoption and data-centric culture, but most importantly, AI trends and what are trend chasers actually gaining or losing while following their strategies and approaches. And Ananhi, with your experience, it's absolutely valuable to hear because let's start, all right? Looks like in the universe we're all in that bubble, I call it, all right? Everyone talks about AI, okay? Not even metaverse anymore, okay? Not blockchain anymore, at least where I am, okay? It is AI. It's all about AI investments, AI adoptions, AI knowledge, chat GPT, all right? So we're all there somehow, but it's very important to know from your experience, your work with clients, which AI trends you find the most impactful on industry, on our lives, on our culture.
Yeah, that's a very good way to start because since November, actually, not a day goes by without hearing something about generative AI. So, for people who don't know what exactly is generative AI is artificial intelligence that can create a wide variety of data, such as images, videos, audio, text, and 3D models. And developers are trying to unleash the productivity with generative AI tools. Also, you can see advertisements. We would have all seen in LinkedIn or Facebook. Is this a human or a AI model? And you might be wondering whether I'm a human or an AI here who's been interviewed, because we have also seen videos of people, even like Steve Jobs, who's no more, unfortunately, but he was interviewed earlier. So, and Microsoft is trying to transform user experiences in the Microsoft Word and Excel tools. We see Google is using generative AI in Bard to improve our search experience. And recently, we have seen Amazon chief, he has said how they aim to lead in generative AI. And this week, actually, Unity, they have created a video game maker for adopting AI development tools that can generate dialogue, characters, and landscape. So this way, they can improve the gaming experience for people who are in gaming, who are doing the gaming, as well as they can interact with more lifelike characters, and also it can create dynamic storyline that might be very engaging for people. So there has been a sudden AI shift that has caused a rush among developers and businesses to embrace AI like a gold mine rush. But one thing, whether we like it or not, the genie is out of the box. So there's no way going back. And the good thing about ChatGPT, like Irene mentioned, is that previously, like for example, like my husband, he's a doctor, medical doctor, In 2009 or so, he went for a conference and he came back home saying like, oh, I can see people using something like iPad and I don't know what is that. It looks like very cool. People are taking notes. So I want to buy an iPad. And I was like, he's not a tech guy. He's a proper medical professional. And I was like thinking, okay. And we bought kids were so excited to buy the iPad, but more than him, it was the kids who were using it, and he didn't know how to use or what to do or things like that. But when ChatGPT came into effect, and he was trying to go to South Africa for a conference early this year, and he was asking me to provide an itinerary, and then he came one day with an itinerary saying, "Look, I know what to do, and I have an itinerary, and I know where to go and look." And I'm like, "Wow, okay, so good. So how did you do it?" He said, you have you used ChatGPT?" He was saying. So I was like, "Wow, that's a success of ChatGPT because everybody, it has reached broad spot of people to really understand the power of AI. And also after COVID, it has also penetrated so much. It has advanced a lot of areas, especially in healthcare. So people can do, think about our data, can think about technology more than before. So you did do a very good job of bringing AI into the public consciousness of what's possible. And so I think it's a lot of people get really excited and they want to jump quickly into AI. So yeah, we are in a very good era now where there's AI. You can't go without AI kind of thing. So everything around us is powered.
Many people chasing this understanding in terms of what will be the greater AI human collaboration. You brought the example of your husband, which is terrific, because we know how doctors are reluctant. Okay, they don't like IT people. I don't want to generalize, but I have experience around me. Of course, people very skeptical and reluctant in many ways in many industries. All right, and the fact that adoption went so wide and so quick, that tells us volume. All right, what about this collaborative approach that we all going to be thinking
Yeah.
about?
So one thing that we learned out of ChatGPT release, even if you go to OpenAI, they say like because they released earlier to the public, they were able to understand the risks. They could able to understand the issues or the safety problems. So and they say like the way to go forward, like you rightly said, is collaboration with other organizations, with industry experts, with university research, so that they can try to collaboratively come up with, okay, how do we really use it ethically, safely, and minimize the risk. So I think they did try to form a workshop, and they have produced a report in their website if you go and see. But the other thing also is like after ChatGPT became very much well known, organizations have publicly aired their concerns about the misuse and especially with regards to the intellectual property rights. And a lot of companies are putting a brake on in order to have the right controls and security in place so that their own IP doesn't leak into those public models. And I think that's appropriate because if you look into one of the research done, they said around half of human resource leaders are issuing ChatGPT guidelines for staff how and when they can use ChatGPT. And in May, Apple actually restricted the use of ChatGPT for some employees to prevent the exposure of confidential information. And the other thing is also they now like thinking about how do we develop ourselves, our own AI platform in-house, and with competition such as ChatGPT. So they've combined with other organizations to collaboratively innovate. While the other, there's also research by Gartner. Gartner is a big research firm, and they said 3% of companies have banned ChatGPT outright. Um, that's this month actually, we had Commonwealth Bank of Australia. They restricted the use of ChatGPT, and they directed the technical staff to use similar tools called as ComBank, which is a Gen AI studio. And again, it was developed in partnership, again, collaboration with other Silicon Valley tech company. So this shows how organizations have pushed themselves in order to address the safety, security, or IP issues through collaboration. And it's not like, you can now see like it's not a straightforward way to embrace AI.
Continue, of course, these discussions because something becomes clear as we go along. But again, right, lots of risks, lots of opportunities out there. So, what do you think will be the potential way to address those? You kind of started talking about it, meaning that protecting your intellectual property, right? Making sure the tools you're using and implementing in the organizations, right, do adhere to your own ethics and your own policies. That's for sure, right? This is what responsible leadership is all about, right? How do you see leaders reacting to all this wealth of information, a wealth of opportunities, but at the same time, I can easily believe it's very overwhelming. Not enough, knowledge body even to train leadership right now, right? We're all trying to educate ourselves, right? And yet, what do you think, the responsible leaders should do?
Yeah. So the thing, if you look into, we have so much of advancement in AI, but unfortunately, the regulation or the policy is not really catching up the speed of AI, evolution, or how it's trying to penetrate. So there is a rush to use generative AI, and generative AI is a powerful technology. It has the potential to help us to be more efficient, more effective, and really transform our customer experience. So, organizations need to understand that AI transformation is complex, it's expensive, and it's risky before they actually embark into AI. So, when they look into all these success stories, like I do a lot of teaching for the MBA students in AI, and that time, like, they think, okay, we have got OpenAI succeeding, Microsoft succeeding. All they get to know is about the nice stories, the success stories of how organizations have succeeded, but they don't really understand, like, the failures. So what are the failures? So what works for a large organization or for some other organization which has successfully implemented may not be the same for a small or a medium or sized organization. Or what has worked for a retail, for example, may not produce the same result for your particular organization, because each and every business is different. We all have our own processes, we all have our own data points or data access. So there's, and everybody's stage in AI adoption or maturity is not the same. So everybody is different. So we can't really chase the trend without ensuring that your organization is AI ready. For instance, like when I told about failures. So if you look into Gartner research, it says over 70% of AI projects fail. And if you go closer into like why exactly the projects fail, so it's not just because of the technology or the data, but also due to organizational problems, such as, like, there is lack of alignment with business goals, and people think short term. Okay, they have implemented, or my competitor has implemented, chatbot for customer experience services. Let's do that. So they are just very short term. They're not really thinking of the long term. Okay, fine, we want to implement chatbot, but what exactly, what's the value we are going to derive out of it, and what are we going to automate first? So what do we start, where do we start? So you can't really start directly when somebody is presenting about their business success story. They would have been in this field for a longer time, experimenting and trying to evaluate to reach to the stage where they are right now. So looking at that success story, we can't really go and say, okay, we are going to develop a personalized chatbot. To get to the personalized chatbot, it takes time. So have a realistic expectation. Think about what exactly the problem you're trying to solve. What are the resources? So you have got resources and capabilities. So those are the things that actually shows that organizations fail. So they don't have the realistic expectations. They don't have the resources and skills or capabilities that's needed in terms of data technology as well as people and processes in place. So we need a shift in the mindset, and that's basically that we need to do.
In terms of systematic adoption, so like you said, that chatbot is not the only project you know about, all right, or you run in your organization, which is what we used to call it low-hanging fruit, and easy to reap some results, not everything, right? What about deeper transformation, systematic adoption, meaning mindset changing, meaning whole technology stack? Right, you cannot just add one more tool and just praise yourself, right, how intuitive and innovative you are, all right? So where this system will come from, because of course experienced leaders who run these big organizations, right, they have tons and tons of applications and systems and I don't know, thousands of people to align with this strategy. So where is this sweet spot, you think, at least to start thinking in a systematic way?
Yeah. So, but before we go into the systematic AI adoption, I wanted to just show that we need to have a mindset change in terms of like, rather than you chasing the trend, you need to see what exactly adds value to my organization. What does my organization need? What are the business challenges that I need to solve for our organization, or we need to solve for our organization? So we need to shift. So, for example, a typical example, like when we had the introductory talk, I think we said how people go to conferences and then they hear about all these good presentations, and when they come out, all they think is, okay, let me do what they said. They heard about all these cool generative AI, and then they call consulting firms or try to get a data scientist to help them develop the AI. So what the consultants or the data scientists might be good at what they're doing, but they may not know what exactly your day-to-day operation is. They will not know what exactly processes, problems have you got, what are the key challenges the users need to solve, and where are the bottlenecks. So they won't have all these understanding. So what we need to do is we need to start by trying to not bring in somebody outside, but maybe you need to tell what you need to do, rather than you need to start empowering your employees, start empowering your team, your leaders, to start thinking about, okay, you know, um, these are the use cases that we can use. Do we have the right data? So by empowering, I mean, like, like you said about leaders. So how do we empower leaders? So we need to provide AI literacy training for leaders, for staff, front, back, and for your core users, so that once they have the right knowledge of AI, they know the AI capabilities, what is capable, what is not capable. Do I need to use, a chatbot from an outside source, or do we need to develop it? Or by you trying to engage with your customers, you will now know, like, okay, for example, the password is the most frequently asked thing. So why don't we just, send like an automatic thing, kind of? Why don't we automate that request? So your employees are empowered, and when you bring in a consultant, then you have a better collaboration between the employees as well as the consultants. So we need to start with AI literacy training, and that's basically what we do at ESHTA. But the other thing which you were talking about is the systematic AI adoption. So systematic AI adoption is a process. So AI is not a quick fix. It's not a magic bullet. And responsible AI is a long process too. Like again, when I present in conferences, like last year when I was doing in a conference about responsible AI, one of the during the Q&A time, one of the delegates, he was saying, we are halfway through the development process. So can you tell us, like, when do we need to start thinking about the policy, the regulations, as well as the AI, responsible AI? So responsible AI is not an add-on. So, for example, let's say, like, if you wanted the AI to be responsible, it needs to be compliant legally. You need to have all the ethics in place. You need to make sure you have all the fairness, bias, and all those things in place. So, if the your regulation team or your law team or your business doesn't have an AI understanding, how do you think they can contribute to AI development? So you won't have a proper developed an ethically developed tool, or you won't be able to have a responsible AI in place. So we need to go through a process. We need to start defining what exactly the business goals are, and then we need to ensure a systematic and organized implementation process.
Mentioned AI readiness, and we often add digital transformation and organizational transformation without going too dry. Could you please point to maybe few aspects of digital transformation that will help organizations to realize their AI readiness status? Again, I don't want to be too cliche and buzzwordy here. It's really about understanding, like you said, business goals, but at the same time, how can we help our audience?
Yeah. So, the thing is, once you have AI readiness, it's also about literacy. So, making sure your leadership knows, because you need the support from your leaders. So, we need to make sure that your organization has got AI literacy, so they are all empowered. And once they are empowered, you could also look into the data. So, do you have the right quality and the quantity of data? With regards to data, there was a research done where it said like 80% of the data is not being used by organizations, just because it's not clean, it's not the right data quality. So that shows, like, we are looking to talk about so much of data. We use data in our day-to-day life, be it social media or in a company. But that data is like, most of them are not used. So how do we make use of those data? So we can start thinking about that. So once we have these in place, then the other thing is also trying to involve everybody. So having, like, you started off, Irene, like, saying collaboration. So collaboration is not just outside collaboration, but also within your organization. Collaborate cross-functionally, so that, like, you could try to bring in experts from the beginning, as well as the stakeholders and the users from the beginning. So you are trying to solve the right use cases. Identify what use cases you wanted to solve, or what problems, rather than use cases. Let's say what problems your organization has got, and then prioritize those ones. So, okay, let's, like you said, the low hanging fruit. So let's start by, okay, let's prioritize what's easier for us to solve. Create a strategy. So strategy is very, very important. I think one of your previous talk, I think you just released, Irene, which is what it's on strategy. So AI strategy is very key for organization, not just developing the strategy, but making sure you align that strategy with your business. because when you don't align, by aligning I mean, like, if you're not solving a business problem with the AI and you're trying to solve something else, it's of not going to be a good return on investment for your stakeholders. So, and it may not be long term fruitful. So we need to make sure that the other thing is about AI governance. So by AI governance, like, let's say if there's any problem in the chatbot, for example, you're having a customer service chatbot, and if there's any problem, who is accountable, right? So who do you need to direct people to, or who are the key stakeholders, key people involved? So we need to think about all those uh, things in place.
Absolutely. So let's jump to another realm, all right? Because I do want to talk about practical things here. We kind of pointed right in the direction where to think the wealth of information. Anandhi and her company is wealth of knowledge and expertise. So check the website. We'll attach it to these videos for sure. So absolutely talk to the experts, right? When you need an advice. But like you said, right, rely on your own in-house talent. Otherwise, why did you hire all these people, right? If you really need outside help all the time. But again, rely to outside sources for sure, because they are more knowledgeable on the latest and greatest. They can advise. But again, responsibility is all yours as a leader. That's why you do what you do. So could you please share, maybe a few shiny examples, all right, of AI initiatives done right? Okay, because of course it's a survival bias, right? We know the successes, we don't want to hear about failures. You're absolutely right. All right, and yet we do need inspirations. All right, we do need to hear it's not about grudgy work all the time. You do work for months and years, right? You align all your resources, all your energy, and you get to see the results. Okay, so any like good examples where you see right your work, your team's work, your client work?
Yeah. So the problem with AI is, like, we are still learning. So we are all in the learning stage, and it hasn't reached the maturity point yet. The reason I'm saying is every organization is different. Some organizations, they don't have any AI readiness, and there are organizations who have got AI maturity already. So yesterday I was in a talk, and I was like telling them, like, in financial services, if you look into the data, only 1% of organizations have got are AI achievers. And if you look into healthcare, only 3% of the organizations are again AI achievers. By that, I mean they have the technology, they have the data, they have the strategy in place, and they have the culture, so organizational culture in place. So those are the key things that they use to see, okay, who are achievers and who are experimenters. And most of the organizations, like, 70% or 74% of organizations are still experimenters. And if you again look into another data, only 54% of organizations who have done the pilot go into the development phase, or that's the kind of success rate. So what exactly do organizations need to do, and, like, how others are succeeding? So there's a wonderful thing, like, in FDA approvals. So if you look into FDA approvals, from 1999, till today, or till this year, there have been only 500 plus AI medical devices that's been approved by FDA. And last year it was about 350 or something. So I was like going through, like, okay, who are the organizations who are getting FDA approval? Like, what are they doing? And it looks like more than bigger organizations or established organizations, startups have got more number of FDA approvals than compared to other organizations. So why is this the case? It's because when you are a startup, you have your strategy in place, you got all the things that you wanted, you have a clear vision, you got a focus. You don't really need to worry about your organizational change because you're starting new. But if you're an established organization, there are established organizations. Again, if we go back to the FDA approval, the organizations, some of the organizations have got repeat approvals. So, what does that tell us? Is that because they have processes in place? Like, this talk, I said, okay, we focus on systematic AI adoption. So that's basically what it is. They have a process in place, which means they are not jumping into trends. They have, like, thinking about, okay, what are the low hanging fruits again? And what are the problems that we need to solve for our organization? They have the governance in place, they have the strategy in place, and they also have use cases. So which means, like, once you develop one AI, then the next AI becomes easier for you, maybe because you have the process in place, you got the use case experience. For organizations who don't have that, then get on people like ourselves, see, like, what AI you want to develop and where your problems are, so we could provide you with use cases that would give you the knowledge and some ideas to how we can go forward. One of my banking client, what they did was they did develop a customer service tool using AI to automate the process and make it more efficient. But then when they launched it, the staff, they could not embrace AI because they thought it's there to replace their job, and some staff thought we can do better job than the AI too. So there was a bit of conflict. So then what they did was they said, okay, can we have an AI literacy program to help the staff understand and embrace AI, so that they know why we need to have AI or where AI can be used and how it's going to support them in their work rather than replace them. So rather than going, so that's like a, bottom top down model. So if you again look at organizations who have succeeded, to get some inspirations, they allocate like 50% of their budget for the organizational transformation, which is the culture, the training and providing the skills and developing the capabilities. So 50% is spent on that, and 50% is for development, tech development. So think about AI. AI is not just about technology, it's also about organization. So you need to think about organizational change. And we all know organizational change is not a quick fix. We don't have a low code change for organizations. So organization habits are hard to change. So if you are bringing in a new technology, make sure your business is empowered, your staff are empowered, and they are ready to embrace the change. So that would help the organization scalable and in a sustainable way.
This is perfect conclusion, Anandhi, to our talk, because again, we talked about technologies, we talked about inspirations and adoption and systematic thinking and collaborative approach in the organizations and bunch of important points. Looks like you already finished with key takeaways, because I always ask my guests to leave our audience with a few points to remember by. So should we summarize maybe 3 key moments, or what do you think this episode to be remembered by?
Yeah. So start investing in, in training, AI literacy training for a staff, whether you're getting into AI or you're already in your AI journey. So start investing in AI literacy program to upskill your staff, because once you foster a culture of innovation and collaboration, then it becomes easier for you to identify and automate processes, and increase your return on investment. So that would be my number one takeaway. The number two is like a define clear business case. So, what exactly is your business case for AI? Have you got the AI strategy in place? Have you got the governance for AI before embarking into your AI journey? And start small. Look for your low-hanging fruits and pilot. So involve people. So make sure you involve not just the business but also the end user from the start. So you're solving the right problem, and you also got to buy in.
Perfect, perfect. You know what? You brought startups earlier. I just want to, in conclusion of this conversation, remind all the leaders in large enterprises and medium-sized companies. When you start a new initiative, you are a startupper, okay? You have to have, like Anandhi pointed out, clear business case, clear business model, clear everything thought through. It's like you're looking for internal investor. All right. And even if you don't have that experience under your belt in your career, this is your time to shine. Otherwise, without that homework, without that thought through absolutely bulletproof business case, you're not going to launch your initiative. You won't know what to do with it. So in conclusion, Anandhi, this comparison enterprise versus startup, how do you see people learning from each other in those two universes?
Yeah, I think there needs to be a collaborative approach here. Startup. I was talking yesterday in a startup group. Like, startup, you would be developing a product if you're developing a product for big organizations. Again, you think about their organizational culture. So we are not Steve Jobs. We don't have the resource like IBM has got to just to get the product to the market. But there's also trying to help them educate in this process. So collaborate with businesses, with universities, and learn from each other and look for what are the successful use cases. Do an AI research. That's very key because we are still in the very initial stages, a lot of the organizations. So make sure that you understand what use cases are out there, what works, what doesn't work, what are the problems. And so I always like to look into the problems because it's like in medical field, like how do you learn to do a surgery, right? So you dissect a corpse and then you learn to do a surgery. So when you go and look at the failures, it helps you to make sure that you don't repeat those mistakes. So yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time and for your wisdom. I encourage everyone, follow Anandhi Dhukaram on LinkedIn for sure. And yeah, let us know. Let us know what you think. We want to know, the challenges, the successes you have with AI adoption and even with growing your own knowledge. All right. Because we're all learning. Thank you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Erin.